Hi, everyone. We're going to give it about 2 more minutes and then go ahead and get started. Thank you for everyone who has joining us today.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is my first time on this Zoom.
Yes.
I received the email and I don't know how or why. So I thought I'd jump on and see what this is all about.
Great.
Have y'all ever worked with NAMI before?
Yes. Yes. Some of our clients, we have collaborated on some case management.
Okay, because I'm on state board with NAMI.
Okay. Perhaps that's why.
Possibly, but why now in July of 2022 I get the email? I have no idea. So that's my curiosity, just to get a little bit of info of why I'm on here.
Great. Well, I think that, you know, obviously you're in the practitioner space as a board of director member, but I also think that people who rent, own homes, have any connection to the housing space probably are interested in this. But thank you and welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Ma'am?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
This is based out of Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Acadiana, Lafayette. Okay, gotcha. I am on state board for NAMI, but I'm very active in the Acadiana affiliate.
So just for some context, every other month is a joint meeting between ARCH and the Acadiana Housing Alliance. And then every other meeting focuses specifically on the work of ARCH. And so this particular month is a joint meeting with the Acadiana Housing Alliance.
So there's a Zoom call every month. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, it's always the 4th Thursday of the month at noon. And if you're unable to join, AOC Community Media is so generous in recording the meetings, and it's on their YouTube page. So if you're not able to attend, you can listen later for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I will admit people as they arrive. Welcome to the July ARCH Acadiana Housing Alliance joint meeting. We really appreciate your joining us. We're looking forward to focusing today on resident organizing. A reminder to please mute yourself when you are not speaking. It keeps ambient noise from happening as we're having this meeting. Please introduce yourself. Drop your name and, if applicable, your organization or your company affiliation in the chat. We're going to have time for Q&A and open conversation at the end of today's meeting. And you know, that'll be an opportunity for you to take yourself off of mute. If you have any questions and you don't want to speak up necessarily, or you're not able to, you can drop those questions in the chat and we'll make sure that that our speakers have an opportunity to answer them. And then a reminder that this is being recorded, and thank you to AOC Community Media for always making sure that our meetings are accessible to everyone, that we're able to go back and listen to it. There are a number of times that people reach out to me and I'm able to say they're all there on the AOC YouTube page. If you'd like to access it later, we do send out the link following the meeting. And it's been especially helpful the last 3 months. We did a 3-part conversation around adjudicated properties. And so that really allowed us to keep everyone involved if they were not able to meet at all 3 consecutive meetings. So we're going to start today with our conversation, and then we're going to offer really spacious time for discussion and then also key member updates. To begin, today, the National Low Income Housing Coalition's 2022 Out of Reach report dropped. I know that we've talked about it in previous meetings over the years, but the 2022 report dropped today. Although we will have a speaker from the National Low Income Housing Coalition joining us to do a deeper dive on this in the next couple of months, I think it's important to contextualize today's conversation with an overview of the information. And again, just a reminder that I got it in my email about 3 hours ago, so just beginning to digest this report. So across Louisiana, as we know, there's a shortage of rental homes that are affordable and available to extremely low-income low-income households. You'll see that on your screen as ELI, extremely low income, whose incomes are at or below the poverty guideline or 30% of their area median income, and that's AMI. So you'll see ELI, that's extremely low income, AMI is area median income. And many of these households are severely cost burdened, spending more than half of their income on housing. Severely cost-burdened households, a reminder, are more likely than other renters to sacrifice other necessities like healthy food and healthcare in order to pay the rent, and they're more likely to experience unstable housing situations like evictions. So we see that across, the top of the slide, that 32% of renter households in Louisiana are extremely low income. And they found in this latest report that we have a shortage of about 105,000 rental homes that are affordable and available to extremely low income renters in comparison to those that need them. The maximum income for a 4-person to be considered an extremely low income household at the state level is around $26,000. But in order for a household to afford a 2-bedroom rental home at HUD's fair market rent, they would need to make $36,786. So that's about a differential of $10,000. And then 68% of extremely low income renter households in Louisiana are severely cost burdened. And again, that's spending more than half of their income on housing. If you look at the bottom left of your screen, I wanted to note that this pie chart is a little bit more complex than one might imagine initially. So those are mutually exclusive categories: the in labor force, senior, single caregiver, disabled, school, other. And what that means is that everyone is only counted one time. So they're applied in the following order: first senior, then disabled, then in the labor force, then enrolled in school, then you're a single adult caregiver of a child under 7 or a person with a disability or other. So that means that of the 38% of the in labor force, they may also be a senior or a single caregiver or disabled, right? But they're only going to be counted first. First they would be considered senior, then they would be considered disabled, et cetera, et cetera. And so at the national level, Yes, there is a breakdown, and I'm going to drop the I'm going to be dropping the entire report in the chat so that you all can download it. It's lengthy and comprehensive. So at the national level, 15% of extremely low income renter households include a single adult caregiver, and more than half of whom usually work more than 20 hours per week. Let me admit someone. Okay. And then 11% of extremely low income renter households are also enrolled in school. And 48% of those also are working more than 20 hours per week. So as you can see, these categories are many people fall into multiple categories. If you look at the bottom right of your screen, you know, renter households spending more than 30% of their income on housing costs and utilities are considered cost burdened. So that's 30% of your income on housing costs and utilities are considered house burdened. And again, severely cost burdened is more than half of your income. So as we can see, of course, there's a differential for the, you know, between cost burdened and severely cost burdened, but still more than 30%, that's a pretty significant number in Louisiana across the board. And then, you know, in Louisiana, this is the breakdown that we often see when people come from the National Low Income Housing Coalition and they come and they speak with us. So again, in Louisiana, I'm going to read this out loud just because it's so important. The fair market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is $920. In order to afford this level of rent and utilities without paying more than 30% of income on housing, right? We talked about that being cost burdened. A household must earn about almost $37,000 annually. So assuming a 40-hour work week, 52 weeks per year, so no vacation, full time, this level of income translates into an hourly housing wage of $17.69 per hour. And so it's important to note that that would require 98 work hours per week at minimum wage in Louisiana to afford a 2-bedroom rental home at fair market rent, or 81 work hours per week at minimum wage for a 1-bedroom rental home at fair market rent. And again, you know, we will have a guest who will do a deeper dive into these numbers, but I wanted to introduce it, and we will be dropping that report in the chat. And although you see under most expensive areas listed is New Orleans, Vernon Parish, Baton Rouge, Hammond, Shreveport. So we're looking at Shreveport at $17.25. Make no mistake that Lafayette is right up there at $17.12. So that's the hourly wage. Again, I apologize for the cut and paste job, but I did want to be able to share these numbers today. So the 2-bedroom fair market rent in Lafayette. Now, I do want to point out that the data, there is a lapse in time of the data, right? It's a 2022 report, but they're using data that comes from 2021, right? $890 for a 2-bedroom fair market rent. And so, yes, we have 31% of our total households in Lafayette Parish are renters. And then I thought that this would be interesting to help contextualize. So this is occupations that and their median hourly wage. And then in there in red, you see the 1-bedroom housing wage and then the 2-bedroom housing wage. And of course, this is not comprehensive. This doesn't list every occupation that makes less than what the cost of a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom housing wage would be. But it helps to sort of give us an idea of who our people are, who our community members are, our neighbors are, who are having difficulty or it's impossible for them to afford a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom rental property. So of course, this is a pretty superficial overview of what was found, but again, we're looking forward to taking a deep dive in upcoming meetings with one of our partners at the National Low Income Housing Coalition. So before I introduce our guest, I wanted to talk a little bit about community organizing and specifically around housing. So there are 4 basic tenets of community organization. And the first is that the fundamental aspect of community organizations is the principle of what's called cooperative spirit. And that promotes the idea that people are united to address a common issue, right? We're all in the room because we have the same spirit, the same energy around a particular issue. Second is that community organization recognizes the spirit of democratic values and principles with the focus on creating democratic involvement. Okay, so fundamentally, democratic values and principles, and then once organization starts to happen, in order to, that you can be involved at a democratic level. Then that the community organization recognizes the power of individuals. It believes that through the collective strength of the people, better teamwork can provide comprehensive solutions to social problems. Okay, so we come together as individuals, and then together our collective strength builds a team that can create solutions. And then fourth is that of coordination. So it's concerned, community organization is concerned with adjustments and interrelations within the community organization that will grow the solutions toward better common welfare. So it's not only how are we presenting and working toward a goal and what's the outcome, but what is the process? Is coordination internal and making the adjustments that are necessary within the organization? And the first of community organizing around housing that we saw in the US began in settlement houses. So settlement houses were organizations that provided support services to the urban poor and to European immigrants, often including education, healthcare, childcare, and employment resources. And many settlement houses established during this period are still thriving today. The Neighborhood Guild in New York was the first American settlement house, founded in 1886. This was followed by, many people know, Hull House in Chicago. That was in 1889. In 1893, Henry Street Settlement in New York was established, and it is still open today. And by the 1890s, there were at least 400 settlement houses in the United States, and 40% of those were in industrial towns like Chicago, Boston, New York. What's vital to note, however, is that some settlement houses refuse to serve Black residents, and a separate settle house movement began. And I encourage anyone to read about settlement houses. They're called settlement houses with pronounced autonomy, which meant that they were operated by and for Black residents exclusively and had Black boards of directors. And we owe so much to the social reform and development of community organizing principles that came from this movement specifically. But in general, settlement houses aimed to enable the poor to form organizations to improve their situation. Many aimed to also build workers' organizations that would agitate for reform. And this approach was a really sharp departure from previous styles of charity where the wealthy had really clear boundaries from those who were poor. The wealthy upheld their own superiority, and they weren't interested in really empowering people in need, right? And this was a huge departure. It sought to help empower and center those with what we call now lived experience. The Lane Report was written in 1939. written by a gentleman named Lane. And it situated community organizing practice within social work education. So, so it legitimized community organization as a method of social work practice by presenting a systematic and comprehensive description of the roles and the activities and the methods to community organization. And now you can go to any bookstore, go on Amazon, and buy so many books about how organizations can develop activists. Of course, you can buy Saul Alinsky books. You can read books about community organizing around any specific issue. And so, you know, of course, we know about organizations of farm workers, the civil rights movement, and today the growth of more and more tenant and resident organizations. And so today I am excited, and I want you to get excited to welcome Brandon from Housing Louisiana to talk about a new project that he's leading in exactly this space. Brandon, if you don't mind introducing yourself and telling us more. And yes, Teresa, I will make sure you have access to the slides.
Thank you so much, Elsa. I appreciate the warm welcome. Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Caples. I'm the statewide organizer with Housing Louisiana. And I'm sitting in the dark right now because I just had some laser put into my eyes. So everything's a little bit blurry, but I'm here. And I'm excited about the work that we're introducing with Housing Louisiana. So in short, what we are trying to do is organize residents, and we have came up with this name called ROLA, Residents Organized for Housing of Louisiana. And in short, our long-term goal is to establish a group of residents that have powerful voices across the state of Louisiana that can advocate for housing affordability, and resilience at the local, regional, and state level. We want to accomplish this somewhere in between the end of 2022 and 2023, in the beginning of 2023. And we have identified nine areas across the state. So that's going to be New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Shreveport, Lake Charles, Monroe, Alexandria, the North Shore, Homer, and Thibodaux. Excuse me. And recently, we just had our first listening tour in Lafayette last week that went off without a hitch. Whoop, whoop. And we discussed heavily the disaster recovery funds that has been allocated to the state. And essentially what we want to do is have a chapter that is led by residents, resident leaders who are involved in housing in any professional capacity, but maybe not be involved in housing in any capacity, but are interested in advocating for housing solutions because they're either directly impacted by housing challenges or want to be alive for better housing within the area. The chapters were, again, developed their own resident leadership. So we'll have these things called chapter members and also chapter leaders. And then they'll also pick out whatever priorities that they want to address within their community, because of course they are the experts within their community and they also know what is directly impacting them as far as housing, climate, and also energy as well. After a while, what we hope is in the end, we'll have these several chapters across the state, and we anticipate help from like the regional housing alliances that can be involved, but they don't have to join as a member, but they can be abreast of the work that we want to do. But if they want to be involved, that's also great. But local effectiveness on addressing challenges and changes within the community, while also addressing the needs that's happening right in their back door and on their front doorstep as well. We'll be focused, right now, we're focusing on growing our resident base, particularly across those 9 areas, and hoping to tap into the smaller parishes and the smaller cities that surrounding those parishes. So if you're in Lake Charles, like we're doing a meeting August 6th, but if you're in like Sulphur or Westlake, feel free to come to that meeting. We can't tap into some of those smaller communities, but we're hoping by having them in a more convenient location, you're able to come out, whether that's via Zoom or in person as well. So like I said, we're focusing on building our base at the moment across the state. And then we hope that the chapters tend to challenge our local politicians and our local decision makers to change some of the things that is happening across the state and quite frankly across the country with housing and the current housing crisis that we're living in, where we can advocate for deeply affordable housing, but affordable housing for veterans, the elderly, but also have homeowners and young homeowners be able to afford their mortgage as well. And so my hope is in the next 2 to 3 years, we have these chapters up and running across the state so where they can actually carry a legislative package and a unified package that we can also just advocate for things that's happening across the state, but also advocate for residents that have housing that either is with blighted property or either some disasters, rental, and also mortgage homeowners. And then lastly, I feel like by creating this space for residents who may or not be housing professionals, we hope to expand participation from the everyday working folks who can come together and see the ability of effective change for all people across the state of Louisiana. So that's the rundown of just the work that we're trying to do across the state with Rolla. If you guys have any questions for me, I would love to sit down with a few of you, and I just thank Elsa for giving me this platform to talk to some of you guys. If you guys know any residents that may be interested, I'm going to drop my name and phone number and email address into the chat box. And if you guys feel that you guys want to reach out to me and have a sit down meeting with me, I'm usually in Lafayette on Thursday, with the exception to today because I had to do some stuff with my eyes. But usually every week on Thursday, I'm in Lafayette. So if you guys would like to, anytime you guys want to sit down and talk and discuss some of the work, I'm happy to discuss some of that with you guys. If you guys want to help planning with some of these listening tours that we're doing across the state, like I said, the next stop is Lake Charles, which is August 6th. Feel free to jump in on that. And then we have Alexandria right after that. So if you guys got any kind of context across the state, that would be super helpful. But outside of that, that's all I have for you guys. I just wanted to introduce the work, and I wanted to make sure that you guys are abreast that I'm in your front or back doors as well, so you guys know that this kind of work is happening, and it's important work as well. This is my life's work. I been doing educational policy before this, and also some juvenile justice work. So I could see how each one of those divisions are heavily impacted from the housing crisis.
Thank you, Brandon. And you're going to drop that info in the chat, right?
Yes. Okay,
great. Does anybody have any questions for Brandon? I had a wonderful, very personally needed conversation with him the other day. And I encourage anyone who maybe is feeling a little bit not as optimistic as they once were, to go spend time with Brandon because his enthusiasm is infectious. But does anyone have any questions for him right now?
Yes, I do. I wanted to know if you'll reach out or they're planning to reach out to the Opelousas area because we specialize with 100% veterans.
Yes. So I recently had a meeting and I have another follow-up meeting with the Opelousas mayor. And his name is slipping my mind. And I had a brief meeting with him last week. Yes, thank you. I had a brief meeting with him, and we're actually going to bring a meeting to Opelousas. I would love, I can't see you right now. I'm so sorry. I don't know who was speaking to me, but I would love to talk to you more about Opelousas area, specifically centered around exactly that, because the information we provided at the Lafayette meeting, which he attended, was centered around the discovery dollars, but specifically, obviously, there are some issues that's happening in Opelousas that centered around veteran housing that he definitely brought up. So I definitely want to be able to make sure that we discuss that as well.
Thank you, Veronica.
And Zard, can you just make sure, I'm sorry, I'm typing, and I think I got everything right on that email and phone number, but can you just double check? I'm sorry.
Yep, it looks good. And Brandon, I'll make sure, I'm going to take notes. And if there are people that want to connect with you, I'll make sure that you get that info.
Yes.
Chris, what's up?
Hi, I'm going to be very quick. I just wanted to thank Brandon for the residents meeting that was held in Lafayette a couple of weeks ago, and just would encourage everyone to reach out to him, and as we try to empower our residents to be involved in housing issues. And I guess the bigger point is that after that meeting, I had two mayors, one from Jeanerette and a mayor and a council member from New Iberia, that Brandon also reached out that wanted your contact information. So I'll forward that to you after this meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chris. I appreciate it. You guys have been a tremendous help. So I super appreciate it.
Thanks. Anyone else have questions for Brandon?
So, hey, Brandon, this is Melinda with Habitat for Humanity. We met at the community house on Saturday. It was a real pleasure.
Yes.
Brandon joined us for the ribbon cutting at the filling station over there, the new facility that is now on that complex. And just great to have you with us. Excited for the energy that you're bringing, and also just want to offer that if you need a space to set up in the community house is a space that should be available to you. And it's right in the middle of Macomb Dise, so you could have a temporary hangout space whenever you're over here.
Yeah, thank you for that. I have to get back on Andronica because Elsa also offered the same thing, and you guys have been so grateful, so helpful, and I'm so grateful for that. I think Andronica is trying to work out some sort of contract and on her end. I have to follow up with her on that, but thank you so much, Ms. Melinda. I appreciate that. And that ribbon cutting ceremony was absolutely impactful. What you guys are doing over there truly is going to be impactful for the community.
Hello, my name is Charlene Miller. I am part of the homeless outreach. We are a group of people who serve food to the homeless on Thursday evenings. Mm-hmm. A friend and I just came back from Springfield, and we learned of a project to help house the homeless. I would like to have time to sit down with you sometime, Brandon, and talk to you about it.
Absolutely. Shoot me an email. You can shoot me a text. I'm super informal. I'm formal when I need to be and informal when I don't need to be. So, but feel free to just shoot me a text or shoot me an email, and we can set something up.
Okay, that sounds good.
Anyone else? And I just want to underscore the importance of resident organizing. There's so much interesting work I just came back from a conference. There's so much interesting work that's happening nationwide around things like direct cash deposits, ownership of abandoned homes, just so much from like a resident empowerment perspective, led by people who are, yes, Chris, power is with the people, exactly. And so there is no reason that we cannot be replicating it and building upon it here in Acadiana. So please reach out to Brandon and support this work that's happening. Anyone else have questions for him? Okay, well, I don't think you're not going anywhere, right, Brandon? In case anybody thinks of anything.
I'm sticking around.
Great,
I'm
thank
sticking
you.
around.
So I'm not sure if Tina was able to join us today, but if not, Melinda, is there a way that you could, keep us up to date with what's happening in the resident space with Habitat? And then also, I know that you all are doing some interesting coterie work.
Yeah, so I can just give you a quick update, although Tina would definitely be the person for that. And Chris also, who's doing a lot of work in the trenches with folks in especially the north side neighborhoods in Lafayette. But we have recently, as part of our strategic plan, really devoted some resources to community development and are working on a more defined partnership with LCG, and we'll continue to do this regardless, but to support the work of the coteries who speak directly to LCG, the Lafayette Consolidated Government Planning Department, about issues and concerns that are closest to them and their neighborhood, and also to provide support to other resident-led initiatives. And Tina's been participating in on a couple of fronts with groups who are working more directly in that arena, and can, I think, provide an update maybe next time we're together on some of that work, because I don't want to speak for her there, but I think she's probably has something kind of come up at the last minute. But all that said, I mean, again, it's really important that as we think about what needs to be happening in core neighborhoods in Lafayette, that there is listening to the voice of the people who live there, and uplift of not just voices, but also throwing support behind initiatives that are happening in those neighborhoods. So, and lots is going on. I mean, there's a number of things firing on getting some better food options for some of the core neighborhoods who are basically food deserts across the whole quality of life spectrum, things that need to happen and are. So, and of course, housing, which is why we're all together. The Housing Alliance is a big part of that. So, and on that note, we have started 4 more houses in the Laplace neighborhood. So we're working again to bring more affordable housing to the core neighborhoods, and we're under construction now to the extent that the rain allows us to keep building. So I guess that's all from Habitat right now.
Thanks, Melinda. Chris, do you want to jump in? Anything you want to complement to Melinda's update? Anything we need to know from a resident organizing perspective, particularly?
No, I'm sorry. I inadvertently hit the deal. I concur with everything Melinda said. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's see. I'd like to open it up to the floor. Also, Melinda, if there's a way, how do people get involved with the work, either from a volunteer perspective, or if they are a resident that that's interested in getting involved with any of the coterie work? Do you have suggestions of how to plug in?
Yeah, actually, there are 5 core neighborhood coteries, and I don't have the information at my fingertips, but I can send out the contact information for the leads for those coteries. Tina is the director or the president of the Macomb-Vise coterie at present, so you can reach out to her. There's the Laplace neighborhood, and that's Cheryl Lorio is the chair of that one. Oasis Coterie, which serves the kind of general Truman area, is Josh Edmond. He's the chair. And there's Freetown, and I'm blanking on the name of the chair for that particular coterie. So those are the ones that are, I think, most active right now. And you can also reach out to Alex Lazard. Oh, Alzina, I'm so sorry. We sat next to each other at the last OASIS meeting, and you're here today. So Alzina is the chair of the Quiet Town Coterie and very active in that neighborhood. And everybody's got a little bit different interests and concerns. So, I'd encourage you to reach out directly to them. And Alex Lazard has joined the LCG Planning Division and is working directly with the coteries and is just doing, I think, some tremendous work there. Have a lot of respect for Alex and excitement about what he's bringing to that whole scene. And you can always reach out to Alex, who, some of you already know from his many other endeavors to support the community. But Alex has an office now in the planning department, and I can also send out his contact information to folks. So that would be the best way to connect with the coteries.
Thank you. And then, are there other attendees that have announcements or questions that they would like to? Oh, hi, Alzina. Yeah, you got the floor.
Thank you, Elsa. Elzina Durrell, president of Quiet Town Coterie. I would just like.
You muted again for some reason. Alzina, can you take yourself off mute and maybe start over?
Okay, I think I got it. You can hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I apologize, guys. Elzina Durrell, president of Quiet Town Coterie. I would just like to share some things that I am doing back here in Quiet Town, kind of like a praise report, kind of like documenting what the neighbors, my constituents are doing back here. We've been pushing now for the last 8 years prior to all the meetings and the gatherings coming together. Just recently, I was state approved to become a food pantry here in Lafayette Parish by the state. So speaking of food deserts and things of that nature, what way can I do to support my area in Quiet Town, which extends from Glen Hill, Frontage Road, up to the #1 McDonald's, Northgate Mall, Castile Avenue, the area. Just picture that. We have local businesses that support what we do here. And my praise report is that we gather at least every quarter. So every quarter we feed the neighbors in this area where they can walk. It's not about transportation. They can ride their bicycle. And once a year, we throw a block party. And you'd be surprised the information you can get when people talk at a block party, especially when you're feeding them, when they're having fun, when the resources are out there for us. Like, where should I go for this? We have the resources in our brochure. Hey, look, there's a new LDs that's coming up on Louisiana Avenue, which I am a part of. I am the Lafayette City Planning and Zoning Commissioner for District 5 in this area under Glenn Resort. So we've been patterning and looking and moving around, not just speaking about it, but being about it. And the other thing is where we gather the needs of people, especially the disabled, the seasoned people that are aging in place for quality of life, where I partnered with Second Harvest to have DoorDash deliver groceries to their doors, where they don't have to worry about transportation to decide between medicine or rent or what can ease this single mother for us, what's going on in the pandemic or loss of income, or for whatever the reason that took place in that area, whether it's diapers, you name it, children's clothing, medicine, light bills. So we're moving towards that area of preparing these people. Hey, what are your needs? If you require anything that we have at this establishment under Quiet Town Coterie, bring it to my attention. So we've stepped up a little, and the only thing that that I have a pet peeve about, and Melinda knows this very well, is the adjudicated property in my area, where the residents are saying things like, there's someone next door, I live alone, I'm seeing you, can you get this? Did you call 911, Miss Barbara? Did you do this? And the pattern. So we have this one go-to person. If you submit something and you're scared to be like out there because you reported something, bring it to me. I know that source and that person where I can go to, and we can figure out what's going on and see what we can do, even if it's Mr. Joe's cat stuck up in the tree, treat it like it's yours, or whatever the reason is. Go see what's going on with those folks. And I think we've come a long way prior to that for us, beautification and lighting and housing. But if we could get a hold on these adjudicated properties, when we try to put in for a claim to write that ordinance, but we always give the owner that, okay, this person is applying for this. Do you want to redeem this? But when the redemption comes, the property still sits as an eyesore. And that's my pet peeve. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Elsie, you're on mute now.
Thank you, Melinda. Thanks, Alzina. And if you would like to put your information, your contact information in the chat, people who live in that area particularly, if you feel so inclined, please get involved. Are there any other coterie representatives on the call today that would like to let people know how to get engaged? Okay, I hear you, Alzina, and I think that we started that conversation around adjudicated properties, and I think it's a conversation that we as a housing alliance need to continue to have and figure out what we want to do as a alliance moving forward. But again, and I want to speak to everyone that if you rent, if you own, if you feel called to use your voice, there is nothing like resident organizing. Yes, this session is being recorded, and I'll be sending the link out for you to listen to the entire meeting after it is concluded. But if, again, like Chris said, power is with the people, and we as practitioners should be being led by those who are living in the communities of which we are seeking to serve. And so we want to make sure that the flow is in the right direction. Again, there are many opportunities, whether it's with Brandon, whether it's with your local coterie, whether it's both, for you to get involved as a resident and leverage your voice. Are there other agencies or individuals who would like to make an announcement, update us in any way before we run out of time today? We want to hear about the work you're doing.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa with Escape from Poverty, and I'm so happy to be here today and to hear all the research that you guys have provided. Because what we do is that we teach life skills classes as well as help individuals to achieve their goals by partnering with the mentor and the budget counselor. So some of our participants are working really hard to escape from poverty and to get off government assistance, but housing is something that they're having trouble with. So even though we're helping them to find a better job, get transportation, and also work on that budget, we're having an issue with housing. So right now we have two participants who have graduated from our program and they're in our grad club, but they are experiencing homelessness as they're staying with family members. It's extremely hard for them to find a place to live. So I just wanted to say what we're doing is that we're working with them to help their budget so that they can have as much financial freedom to get into housing. But I love the fact that I'm in the room and hear so many different people who are working on making sure we have affordable housing. As an organization, we're looking into avenues that we can get into housing to provide better opportunities for our participants, because when someone is working really hard to do better with their life, but they keep getting hit, especially when it comes to housing, it just makes them feel like, what's the point? So we want to make sure that we have great resources to partner with as they're doing the hard work to create a better life for them and their families. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Teresa. And, it leads me to remember, when we were talking earlier about settlement houses, right? And there were locations where people were offered educational support and other services, right? That at that point was the moment of engagement for community organizing, right? So for those of you all who offer social services, and I think we see this particularly with Habitat, is to say, okay, well, you're now a resident of this neighborhood. So now that you're a resident of this neighborhood, these are the ways that your voice can be empowered, right? We've worked to get you housed. We're helping you with food. We're making sure that you're connected to all of the available resources. But how can we connect you so that you're empowered and you're invested in your community and your voice is leveraged, so that we're no longer speaking on behalf of you, but that you're speaking on behalf of you, and we are no longer leading, right? That we are following the needs of the residents in our community. So I think it would be really interesting, Teresa, I know also I saw Heather on the call, right? That organizations that offer services, how can we connect them, connect those who are receiving services with ways that they can be empowered within community or in direct community organizing work as well. Anyone else have any agency announcements or comments, any work that you believe we should all know about? Because I think we should all know about all the work that we're each doing.
Good afternoon.
Okay, Rose, you go, and then Veronica.
Good afternoon. Ms. Elsa, I wanted to inquire about the recent funding, because within the past week, and even today, I've had my third person affected by COVID, some not affected by COVID, looking for housing. It's very difficult to get through to some of these agencies. I've left several messages. There's nowhere to go. I think I saw Mr. Achan, and thanks to him and to Alzina for the help, what they've been giving me in supplying groceries, diapers, whatever it may be. But the recent funding that Arch had received, I wanted to know if you can give an update on that, because we have a lot of people who are hurting. The housing part, I'm boots on the ground. I'll go to that apartment building, get the application, make sure the clients get it. I'm even emailing it back. So they do have some housing out there, but you really can't just like sit there. You really have to get out and go ask, because a lot of the places aren't putting it out. So it's almost like you got to make the phone call, you got to stay on them. And that's me, I'm always boots on the ground. So I work with several organizations. But some of them, when they're experiencing a homelessness, I'm not able to get through to no one. So I just want to see maybe you can give us a little update, if I can send people that way, if y'all can help me out with folks concerning the recent funding, please.
Yes, ma'am. I imagine that you're asking about the $1 million ordinance that was introduced at the, okay. So it was introduced by Councilman Lazard. I want to say about 3 weeks ago now, and 2 weeks ago last week was when there was to be a vote, and that ordinance was deferred. It was asked to be deferred indefinitely, and when pressed, they set a date, I believe, of August 16th or 15th. I don't remember what the Tuesday night is, for that vote. And so currently we have not received that funding, nor has it been voted yes that we would receive that funding. And so I feel you, we are getting the same calls. There are a lot of people in need in our community and scarce resources to address it. And so I assure you that that you all will be amongst the first to know when we do in fact receive, if we do receive funding. And we will get it into the hands of people who need it the most as quickly as possible. But at this time, that funding opportunity is on hold. Thank
So
you.
Elsa, what can we do to add our voices in the ears of the council people who are making this decision?
I think that if you live in any in any district in the city or the parish, and you felt inclined to call or email your council person and express to them, both as an individual and or as a practitioner, that you see the need, that you too are getting calls, that it is not just Arch that is saying that, expressing that need, but that a community shelter would benefit everyone in our community, I would really appreciate that. I think that Councilman Lazard is very much in favor of this moving forward. But if you particularly live in any other city council person's district, please reach out to them aggressively and call them, ask for a meeting. You are constituents. You are not just practitioners, but you are voters, and remind them of that. And then, of course, this was a city introductory ordinance, and our next step is parish-wide as well. So really, your city or your parish council person. That's the best way that I know of for us to be supported in this moment. Chris, yes.
I'm going to be very brief. I just wanted to amen what you're saying, and had a discussion with Councilman Lazard in reference to the funding that we're talking about now. And as that funding goes, I think there were some other items that was going to come after that. And so it's just very concerning that something that we thought should have been a very easy decision to fund, given the fact that $86 million was spent it will be spent in the city and parish of Lafayette. And as the current reported very early on, less than 5% of those monies have gone to social and community type programs. So we're going to support this effort when it comes back up in a couple of weeks. And the hope is that the other asks that have been made, the North Side ask, which asks for agencies that are on the north side of Lafayette be funded so that we can increase the diversity of where the money is going in terms of different types, not just infrastructure, not just drainage, but also social service agencies and housing, of course. I have a brief announcement that on August 24th, part of Sunshine's initiative is with housing, but it also deals with healthcare, which is a direct derivative of the conditions that you live in.
Yes.
And we will, on August the 24th at the Downtown Convention Center, we will have a workshop entitled Black Women Birth Mortality Rate, which is an issue, a national, local, and state issue. And that will be on August the 24th at the Downtown Convention Center midday. And so we'll get more information on that out next week, the first week in August. And so it's going to be tentatively from 6 to 8 p.m.
Thank you, Chris. And I'd love to talk to you offline about that as well. I think I've got some resources that might be beneficial.
We've invited Senator Cassidy, and hopefully he will attend.
Great. And just to reiterate, the money that we are asking for is for a community shelter. This is not Arch dollars. Arch would probably operate the shelter, but this is a community-led shelter by multiple agencies, and it is a unified plan, and we are looking forward to being able to execute those goals. I made a note, but I don't remember what it was about, so I'm sure it will come back to me. Dana, I see your yes. Harlan, Dana, I see both of your comments. Disability-related programs need funding, absolutely. And not to put too fine a point on it, and perhaps I'll get in trouble for this. I grew up in skater culture in high school, but I think that if we can spend $500,000 on a skate park, then we can definitely housing people who are unhoused is worth twice that, at least. I want to respect everyone's time because it's 1 o'clock. The next ARCH meeting is in August, and as always, the fourth Thursday of the month, August 25th at noon. One quick thing, happy retirement to Acadiana Legal Services Corporation, ED Greg Landry. We've always really appreciated your partnership and your insight. We're looking forward to what your next chapter looks like, and please don't think you'll be off the hook. We look forward for you staying engaged with the Acadiana Housing Alliance.
Will do.
Yeah, we have retirement volunteer opportunities lined up for you already.
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Gregg.
Thank you always. And always thank you to all of you for coming regularly and staying engaged. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me or our co-chair, Melinda Taylor. If you have any questions, suggestions, you'd like to connect in a different way, you think we're not addressing a topic that needs to be addressed specifically, please, this is your alliance. Have a wonderful, great rest of the week. Shoot me a message, Elsa at Arch Acadiana, if you need anything. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.